A few days ago, I was speaking with a friend who said that he received a notice about a mortgage on his house. The problem is that it wasn't his mortgage. He asked me how to handle a particular issue, and as I was researching his question, I discovered that statistically, one out of every three Americans has fallen victim to some type of identity theft at some point in their lives. In fact, just during the 2019 calendar year, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, received over 650,000 complaints about identity theft, which they define as a crime where someone wrongfully uses somebody else's personal information, usually for some type of financial gain. I'm attorney Stuart Sandweiss, and I will tell you that my family also is not exempt. Several years ago, we started receiving letters and calls from a collection company about an Xfinity account that was supposedly in my wife's name. Now, it was very interesting to say the least because in her entire life, my wife never had an Xfinity account in her name. After receiving a number of threatening letters, I called and I spoke with the collection company and found out that the account was allegedly in my wife's maiden name. Now, at that time, we were married well over 25 years, and during this time, my wife never even used her maiden name. Certainly not for an account that she never asked for. Thus, we knew it was some type of a scam or that we were a victim of identity theft. Upon further inquiry, we found out that the service was at a location that was some 15 or 20 miles away from where we live, the house where we've lived in at the time for over 25 years. And it was an address that my wife had never been associated with, I'd never been associated with. And we also found out that 2 or 3 of these accounts were listed as delinquent on my wife's credit report. And this caused her credit score to go down significantly. Now, it took a while, a lot of phone calls with to and from the collection companies, letters to the credit bureaus, and we were finally able to solve this problem and get the information off of her credit report. But I will tell you, it wasn't easy. And that's why it's so important to keep up with your credit reports and your credit score, as having fraudulent information on your record is not only frustrating, it's costly. It can lead to a lower credit score, which ultimately will result in higher interest rates on credit cards, on mortgages, on car loans, and so forth. To make people aware of these types of scams, a number of years ago, the 4th week of January was proclaimed Tax ID Theft Awareness Week, as this is the week when many companies distribute the year-end tax information, whether it's be W-2s to employees, 1099s to subcontractors, 1099s from banks, talking about interest, from dividend companies, and so forth. All of these are distributed at the end of January, and each of them all these documents contain sensitive tax ID numbers, social security numbers, and so forth, that if they fall in the hands of the wrong type of people, this is what can lead to identity theft. This year, in honor of Tax ID Theft Awareness Week, which is this week, and in order to help protect yourself against tax ID theft, we put together a free list of the steps that you and your family members should take to protect yourselves from tax ID theft. We also included tips on what to do if you become a victim of ID theft, including phone numbers to call. To download this free information, simply go to our website, thelegaleducationcenter.org/ID theft info. That's thelegaleducationcenter.org/tax-ID info, and we will send you the list at no cost. Again, that's thelegaleducationcenter.org/ID theft info. And if you've got any questions about ID theft or how to improve your credit score, please feel free to email me, to call me, and I'll be glad to point you in the right direction. Or you can also download our free guide on how to eliminate debt, get a 720 credit score, and save thousands of dollars in the process without losing your property. Simply go to debtfree720guide.com and we'll be glad to send it to you. Any further questions, please feel free to contact me.